Hey folks, welcome back to our YouTube channel. I'm Gene Della Sala, president of Audioholics, and today we have
Hugo Rivera, Vice President of Marketing. Gene, how are you, man?
awesome as always, my friend.
Good. I tell you what, I was looking at all the questions we're getting, which we're getting a ton, dude. It's like it just gets, the inbox just gets bigger and bigger every single week.
And not just on Audioholics, it's our YouTube channel, Facebook, and
it's like
the forums, yeah.
It's all blown up. So,
Yeah.
I mean, big thank you to all of you for supporting us and for sending the great feedback. We really appreciate that. Based on the questions, a recurring question I keep getting is from people that have different budgets, right?
Right.
And they don't really, I mean, some are big budgets, I mean, really big. Others are like tiny budgets. So I guess the question is, how should you budget your home theater? Okay, so if we can talk a little bit about that and give some general guidelines, I think that will help people out.
That's a good question, and I can see why people would be lost, because it is hard to know, what should I spend my money on? Should I spend it on the amp? Should I spend it on the speakers? Should I spend it on the cables? Let me answer that right now. Don't waste your money on the cables, okay? The cable should be your last gasp.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing you want to put towards your budget is the cables, because that's the least important. But yeah, I understand that. And what I would tell people is you kind of have to evaluate and think of the long-term strategy. I don't like the instant gratification approach, because then you wind up being having buyer's remorse,
Mm-hmm.
and saying, oh man, I should have done something else. I should have turned left when I should have turned right. I say come up with a strategy. Are you more of a video file or more of an audio file? Because right there, that's going to dictate a lot of your budget, because you're either going to go with maybe a 56-inch flat panel, or go all out and get a 65 or an 80-inch and just blow your budget on the TV.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen, you go to people's houses, they spend $5,000 on a TV, but then they want a receiver and 5 speakers for $500?
I know, right?
And it's like, really? You just killed half the experience with having crappy sound with a good picture.
Mm-hmm.
So I say you need to have
There has to be balance.
there has to be balance there.
Mm-hmm.
And I will, for the video side, I know we're Audioholics, but let me just comment on video. Get the biggest screen you could afford, whether it's front projection or if it's a flat panel. You want that wow effect. I mean, obviously you got to use the guidelines on our site about how big of a screen you should have versus how far away you're sitting. You don't want to get the nausea effect, especially if you're playing, gaming like Xbox and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But define how important video is for you and define how important audio is for you, and then kind of figure out your budget on that. But in terms of audio, your biggest budget, in my opinion, should go towards the speaker system,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the product, that's the component that makes the biggest effect
Right.
on the overall experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you could get a good design versus a design that has too many compromises because of cost.
Right.
So I would put up to 40% just on the speaker system
Makes
and the
perfect
subwoofer,
sense.
and then put maybe 15 or 20% on the receiver, and then the rest goes on all your other devices, whether you're getting a rack or you're getting some line conditioning. A very small budget on power conditioning makes sense. It's not going to improve the sound quality of your system, but it is going to help protect you against surges and lightning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, and it's a good place to have everything connected to one point. But, again, the biggest budget should go towards the speakers and the subwoofers, and, addressing your room. If you have bad room acoustics, you might want to leave some budget towards your room acoustics, 5 or 10% of your budget. And I'm not talking about throwing giant panels all over the walls.
Not at all.
But I'm talking about a nice area throw rug. If you have a hardwood floor, you put that at the first reflection point, in front of your speakers. That makes a big difference in fixing the sound.
Huge. I've tested it. Trust me. I was playing around with this room that I'm renovating in the house, and we stripped it down to nothing, Gene.
Yeah.
The echo when you have nothing is incredible. When you put the carpet in, oh my God, the echo gets reduced like over 50%. Dude.
Yeah, I mean, you could take a $50,000 speaker and put it in an echo chamber, and it's going to sound crappy. Put it in a church, it's not going to sound good.
No.
But in the same token, if you overtreat the room and stick it in an echo chamber, it's going to measure good, but it's going to sound lousy.
Exactly.
Because you need the early reflections.
Exactly.
So yeah, the biggest budget speakers, then followed by your receiver. Because let's face it, the receiver is the brains, the central plexus.
Yes, the central plexus. That's right.
Of your Star Trek fans, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's the central plexus of your whole system. It does all your processing. It does your switching. It does your amplification. And, here's the thing that kills me about people. They will go and spend, let's say, $600 on a receiver. That's their max budget, right? they're not thinking ahead, because if they would have spent an extra $100 on the or $200 on the model above, and 5 years down the road they decided they wanted more powerful speakers that needed more juice that the receiver can't provide, well, the $500 or $600 model might not have preamp outputs on it. You're done. Now you got to start all over again. You got to sell it on eBay for $200 and get a new one.
That's it.
So if you spend a little bit more on your receiver now, at the very minimum, I always tell people, make sure you get one with preamp outs, because you don't know. Once you get the upgrade bug, you know, I've set up systems from friends so many times where they started out with little speakers, and they're like, you know, this sounds good, but I want to move those little speakers to the surrounds, and I want to get some nice honking towers, you know. Well, yeah, then I go get them these great towers, and they're running a flea market amp receiver, and it's like, oh, it doesn't sound as good as I thought. Well, now you need some juice.
Exactly.
You know?
Absolutely.
You need more power. Captain. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, go with the quality. You know, get a little bit higher end receiver if you can. Put that towards your budget, even if it means you can't have all the speakers right now. Right. Let's say you're setting up just the main channels and the center channel, and you can't do the surrounds right now. Get the receiver. Wait a while. Come back. Do it in steps. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't need the instant gratification. Yeah. Because it's actually fun to kind of hold off and then to build and anticipate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? The other thing too is that you don't need to get the receiver with all the bells and whistles either.
That's true. You know, another thing too is, you know, now with this new Atmos fad, and everybody wants the latest and greatest in that, you know, last year's models that don't have Atmos, they're selling for sometimes half off. Yeah. And some of these models, that the new ones that replace them, are not as good as the old ones, because now they're stamping more logos on the front panel and you're shrinking the power supply.
So again, you need more power, you know?
Yeah. That's a very common thing in receivers. When you get these companies that start putting more features in, they have to give up something else a lot of times in order to hit the same price point. Right. So always look at the weight of the older model versus the newer model. And if you see the weight drop on the newer model, stick with the older model, because you know that they've skimped on power supply or amp section.
Honestly, to me, I see this as a great opportunity for the consumer that knows how to shop.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, I'll just give you a quick example. I have some old VCR tapes I wanted to transfer to DVD, like my wedding tapes and stuff. I went on eBay and I got a JVC flagship super VHS machine that back in the day sold for $700-800. I got it for like $60.
It's incredible.
You could do the same thing with receivers. I look up some of the older generation Yamahas and Denons, and these things 5 years ago, those receivers, the flagships, were built like tanks. Yes. We're talking $4,000 or $5,000 receivers that are now selling on eBay for like $2,000.
It's incredible.
And I'm telling you, the sound you're going to get out of that $2,000 older receiver is going to kick the crap out of the flea market $800 Atmos receivers.
For real. Absolutely. And it'll last a long time too.
They do. And especially a lot of those were built in Japan.
Yeah, that's top level manufacturing.
So I would really look at that. You know, don't be shy to buy used stuff. I mean, if you think it's a reputable place you're buying it from, and, you know, the product looks like it's in good condition, then that is definitely a good avenue to explore.
Awesome. Cool, man. I think we covered everything for this topic, Gene. Thank you so much.
Yes.
It's awesome. Well, with that said, I will invite our fans who haven't subscribed to go ahead and hit the button above and click subscribe. And also to share below what they think about this video, what other videos they'd like us to make as well. And if you like the video, please click thumbs up and share with your friends. Until next time, keep listening.